What's going on, folks? This is Coach Marcus with some more thoughts about the Tua situation. Now you have a lot of people coming on the networks and all the media heads, and they're so blown away and aghast. I think I saw an interview with Harbaugh, the Ravens coach. Um, Rodney Harrison was on. Rodney Harrison actually has some good things to say on the Dan Patrick show. But the thing that is funny that the overall sense is everybody is in shock. And I guess people just don't understand as a player how many times we lie to stay in the game. There's some situations where you can't get around it, and everybody wants to say that you gotta take the choice out of his hands, and you should. But it all depends on who you got in your environment at any given moment. You would think, like I said earlier, uh, the injury against the Chargers was definitely a concussion. Ain't no two ways about that. And why they let him come back in the game after he took the woozy steps. If he just came up and kind of shook his head like shook it off, to me that's normal. You're gonna do that in any situation. As a running back, every time you get tackled, you got to get up and shake it off. Every time you tackle, you're not getting a concussion. But when you try to walk back to the huddle and you can't even make it back to the huddle because your legs are gone, that means you have a concussion. Point blank, period. You can watch any boxing match or UFC match and know that. You know, that doesn't take a degree doctor to figure that out. So whoever didn't make the decision to pull him out the game, that's who's at fault because it was clear as day. Now you can get into the rules and the letters of the law and all that kind of stuff, but it's not that difficult. It's not that complicated. Um, if he, when you woozy, get him out of the game. That happened to me way back in like '96 when I was playing for the Claymores. Um, I went down, kickoff coverage, made the tackle, but the kid tried to jump over me. And as he went over me, he kneed me at the top of the helmet. And I got up and took one step and immediately realized my legs weren't there and I fell right back down. And they walked me off the field and everything. And I tried to get back in the game. And the coach was like, nah, you're done. And I was pissed off and mad and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, what was I going to do? I had to take my helmet off and watch the rest of the game. End of story. So you have to be able to take the choice out of the players' hands. And that's what they were supposed to do when they go to the tent and they got the independent evaluators and all of that kind of stuff. But somebody dropped the ball on it, you know. But then you hear stories of Hines Ward when he got concussed way back in the day, and the first thing he does is grab his ankle. So when you have the injury timeout, they're dealing with the ankle because he knows he wants to get back in the game. Injury, ankle injury, you're coming back. Concussion, you're not. So it's amazing. You got on both sides of it. Players are going to be players, period. So you have to take the choice out of their hands. Now you're going to see you're going to see them going that extra mile to make sure that doesn't happen. And now I hope this doesn't happen, but what I can see happening is they go overboard and somebody it'll be a normal hit, but it'll be somebody, you know, in the booth that maybe that person maybe his feelings, he gets a little skeeved when he sees something like that. It may or may not been a vicious hit, but if his perspective is to take somebody out of the game, what do you do? And that person isn't injured. Now they're not going to be taking that chance, and it most likely will cost a team a game, and that's where the stuff is going to hit the fan. Then the argument's going to be there was nothing wrong with him. The player's going to say there was nothing wrong with me. Because right now we're not there yet. We can't trust the players to make the right decisions. And it looks like you can't trust the people that's supposed to make that independent evaluation to make the right decision. So it all looks suspect because it hasn't been we're gonna be on this full tilt and they can give us all the guardian caps they want to, but that ain't got jack to do with what happens in the game. Nothing. It's a violent game. You penalize the guys, you penalize defensive backs that come up and make a tackle, and they make the tackle the right way. But if the ball carrier shifts a certain way, it's a head hit. It's a head collision. But you penalize the guy making the tackle. He did what he was supposed to do. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. So as a running back and you're running the ball and you're getting ready to take impact, you're going to clinch up. Low man wins the battle. So you're going to get low. You try to keep your head up. But the minute you move or adjust your body location, that changes the trajectory of the guy coming after you. And sometimes if he's committed, he can't change in that split second. It's impossible. So now it's a situation where we're penalizing the guy that's doing it the right way because when you're running the ball, there's no there's no exact way to do it. You protect yourself. You put two hands on the ball and you get low. That's what you do. But if you getting low causes a head-to-head collision, now they get penalized. And to me, that ain't fair. So it's a weird situation. I do see that everybody's going to be getting a little bit overzealous. Maybe they should, but I just hope it doesn't get to a point where it's costing somebody games. And people will say, well, we don't want somebody to lose their life. Nobody wants anybody to lose their life. Nobody wants major injury. Nobody like to see Tua like that with his fingers locked up. That's what happens when you get concussed. Watch any boxing match. Go to YouTube and look up best UFC knockouts or best boxing knockouts. And how many times does the guy get knocked out or the girl get knocked out and her arms are straight out? When they hit the ground, their arms stay like that. That's the same thing that happened, except it just happened with his fingers. It's the same thing. So I hope they just take care to implement and enforce the rules they already have in place. That's the problem. Just enforce the rules that are already in place. And if you go back, wasn't nobody talking about? Uh, I heard, I guess it was Adam Schefter today reading. He was reading the letter of the law when it comes to this protocol. And now all of a sudden you're hearing about back injuries. We common sense should tell you if a player is woozy and can't walk back to the huddle, you're out. Common sense should tell you that. You don't even have to have that written down. But they do. But with all of the stuff about back injuries and stuff like that, now you're going to have all of these other things that can happen. And now we're leaving it up to somebody else where they can say, I think he has a concussion. That's going to be the problem. Now you got somebody in the booth to say, I think he had a concussion. Is every helmet to helmet hit going to be a concussion now? So now are they just going to be taking people out uh, just to be sure? And what type of effect is that going to have on the game? Because now you're going to be affecting, depending on who's out of the game, you're going to be affecting the money, which way the line is moving, all of that kind of stuff. And that is when you're going to start hearing the real problems. People are going to have a real issue with it because it goes back to the same thing. If you know that as me as a D vendor, if I know if it's a helmet to helmet hit, they're going to take this player or whoever that player is at least out of the game for 2 plays so they can get evaluated real quick. I guarantee you there's going to be guys to take that shot. That doesn't have to be a vicious shot. But now if it happens and somebody up in the booth says, that was a helmet to helmet, you got to take him out of the game. Now I don't know if that's going to happen, but I definitely see the potential because the NFL is known for going overboard with stuff like this. They go overboard with it. You can give me every example in the world of someone conduct detrimental to the team, and they will get somebody off that field and suspend them in a hot second. But you can't look at somebody that can't even walk back to the huddle and you can't pull them out. In this situation like this, I know what they were supposed to do because nobody was talking about this getting ready for this game. They brought it up. The NFLPA is launching an investigation. Should Tua have gone back in the game? They brought it up, but they weren't bringing the amount of attention that it needed before the game. Because now you're moving on up. They won the game, one of the biggest comebacks that Miami has had. So they're looking at all of that. They wasn't worried about the concussion. Everybody was thinking, yep, he got away with it. They probably should have pulled him out, but they didn't. They won the game, and so be it. So you just kept it moving. Do I think what happened to Tua on Thursday is a direct relation to what happened on Sunday? I don't know. I don't know. I think they're totally separate. I think if Sunday never happened, that still would have happened because it seems that he's just that type of guy. That injury, because when I look back on the when he got hurt against the Chargers, that that injury didn't look. He didn't take a big hit. Matter of fact, he was pushed backwards and he fell on his own. If he'd have just did a backwards roll, he probably would have rolled out of it. But what happens is when you fall backwards on your butt, and the first thing you try to do is your neck locks up because you don't want your neck to snap back, but you can't stop that force. You can't do it. So when your head snaps back and you get hit on the back of your head, that's the sensitive part. So now he's more susceptible because I've seen people take that hit all the time and people hop up like nothing ever happened. But he can't do that. That's why you had some of them guys that used to wear them neck rolls and all of that kind of stuff. That's exactly what it's for. So your neck doesn't snap back. So our quarterback's going to start wearing neck rolls now. I don't know. It sounds funny until you realize people will do whatever they got to do to make sure they stay in the game. Okay, look at that thing that what's the guy for the Cowboys? Vander Esch wears. Does the same thing. It keeps your neck from snapping back, so that doesn't happen. That injury that Tua had, that's what those neck rolls are for. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see quarterbacks wearing it. I don't understand why they wouldn't wear something like that in the first place. Why is the linebacker wearing that? He's the one making the tackle. Fullbacks used to wear it. Tailbacks and running backs didn't wear it. Receivers don't wear it. Quarterbacks definitely don't wear it. Wide receivers don't wear it. I'm sure there was a couple of wide receivers that may have worn, and a couple of tight ends that may have worn one. But for the most part, skill positions don't wear that. But if that can help, I would think that would help more than a guardian cap would. And the 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 neck rolls and that type of technology, that's something that can be worn in the game. You're not going to wear a guardian cap in the game. So let me get off the guardian caps because that was for camp only. But you understand what I'm saying. So uh, it's a lot that's going on surrounding this. I hate to see everybody wide-eyed and you know, mouth wide open like they're aghast of what happened. This has been happening for years. When Hines Ward did it, it was a sign of toughness. Now we know better, but it still shouldn't shock you when guys are still trying to play. So it all comes down to the people they have in place. Make the call. Period. If you can make the call and find somebody 10 grand for wearing the wrong socks, you should be able to get this right. So a lot of this blame is on the NFL, in my opinion. They'll fine you for everything else, or they'll pull your tab for everything else. They used to have a guy that used to go around and tell everybody to pull their socks up. So you mean to tell me they can't watch this closer? Get out of here. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. So I hope they don't go overboard, and I hope they don't get overzealous to the point where there's going to be controversy and it costs the team games because somebody's pulling the trigger a little bit too fast because they think something may have happened. That's going to be a very slippery slope because now it's not about what happens; it's about how somebody feels that's not on the field, and nobody wants that. So we'll see what's happening. It'll be very interesting. Go Birds.